our guest, and actually is here with us, as you can see. But let me welcome him on the stage, and then we start from there. Yeah. Vusi?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Hello. Jeez, you guys sound like old people working in a bank.
Yeah. So thank you so much for your time and actually stepping by at our office, really, and talking to these young entrepreneurs, you can see. As you all know I'm sure you have great fans here, because when I look at the questions and how people are being interested in really hearing from you. So I'll really not take much of the time, but some of these guys really want to understand, as young as you are, what really inspired you to start
Money.
the business and looking for money?
Money. It's that simple.
Okay.
Money. I don't know about you guys, but I think we all start for the same reason, yeah? Yeah, and it's, it's a part of the lie we need to stop telling, this idea that we're starting businesses because we want to change the world. The truth is, you're starting a business because you want to make sure your next meal is better than your last meal. You want to make sure your home is better than your parents' home. You want to make sure that your family is better cared for. We all go for the same thing. As you make money, you then want more. You want to leave a better world. You want to make an impact, etc., etc. But money, it's that simple.
Interesting.
How many of you here are ruthless capitalists? How many of you here are capitalists? Really? Not ruthless? Aggressive, but not ruthless. We have an English major in the front.
Interesting. So my next question, I'll just use 2 to 3 minutes because we have only 15 minutes. I'll use 2 to 3 minutes and then give it back to you guys. I know you have a lot of questions. I know obviously we really have a challenge of funding, and one of the biggest challenge we have faced as 250 startups, because we really, nurture, identify these young innovators, and you prepare them. They already have tractions around, but when it comes to the funding, it's something challenging. Do you really believe that you need to have funds to start a company?
No, you don't need to have funds to start a company. That's a lazy Western concept. I see many entrepreneurs who go through it. It's a cancer, frankly. It's very dangerous. Saying you need to have funds to start a company is a bit like saying you need to be good looking to go on a date. There are many of you in this room who are ugly, but you're married. That was a joke. So no, it's not a predeterminant. You can't start a business without money. Look, I was actually on a panel yesterday back home via Zoom, and I was saying this to, they had about 1,000 entrepreneurs in this particular conversation and conference, and the question about do you need funding to start a business comes up. I've been saying this for 10 years. No, you don't. You don't need funding to start a business. Here's what you need to start a business. I'm going to tell you the secret. Do you want to hear it? It's going to change your life. It's the first thing they teach you in the first day of university of life. The thing you need to start a business is called a customer. That's it. I see way too many entrepreneurs spending time on, you build a minimum viable product, then once you build a minimum viable product, you want to build a website, then once you build the website, you write your pitch deck, then once you've written your pitch deck, you're sending out your pitch deck to the investors, but you haven't done one transaction. You haven't got a single customer, no use case, nothing. You don't need capital to start a business. You need a customer to start a business. You need capital to grow a business. That's the difference. So, for those of you here in the room who are either at the startup stage of your business, or you've got the idea, or you've done the MVP, first and best advice I can give you is, beyond the MVP, get someone to use the product and get someone to pay you for the product they're using. Convince the person. I just did a transaction of a digital business back home called Buy My Stuff. You guys should check it out. It's an app. And basically what we're doing with the app is we're taking people living in what we call the digitally invisible. So these are people who live in townships, peri-urban areas, rural areas. And on the app, they can go and create a store. And once they've created a store, they can use the app to create the inventory list of the products they have in the store. and the inventory list takes, the app takes the inventory list, tokenizes it, and gives them a value of the inventory they're holding, but in a token. Now, the technologists know the minute I'm talking token, you know where this is going, right? Yeah. So we answer several problems. The first problem is, for many people in the digitally invisible or excluded parts of the world, particularly Africa, the problem is location. So if you're, people say build an e-commerce business. Well, how do you build an e-commerce business when the place you're transacting from doesn't even have an address? Google Maps is not going to find you. So we build into the app a geolocator that uses the geolocation, and that becomes your address. Now we know where you are. And the second problem is, so if you're in an informal economy, how do you, if you're in the informal economy, by definition, you're not in the formal economy, which means you don't have access to traditional financial instruments. You don't have a bank account, you hold money in cash, you don't have a credit card, a debit card, nothing. So how do I take you and get you to sell your business online using e-commerce when you don't even have a bank account? Where are you going to receive the money from, and how are you going to pay the money? And so we then built a wallet into the app. The wallet takes your inventory, tokenizes it, takes the token, puts it in your wallet, which now all of a sudden means I've taken the inventory you're holding in your store and I've turned it into currency. And internally in the app, we can trade. So let's say, for instance, I've got 1,000 of these waters and I rate them at 10 tokens. And you've got 1,000 of that phone, and we rate those at 10 tokens. And I want to buy 5 phones. I send you 5 of my tokens, right? Yeah. And you send me 5 phones. Then I take your 5 phones and I want to sell them in the real economy. So what I do is I take the phones and I sell them in my store. And when I sell them in my store, customers have got to pay me. And we've just signed an agreement now with one of the major banks where, as customers pay me, now I get a bank account. So the bank goes, but how are we going to give you a bank account because we don't know where you are? Banking Rule 101, there's 2 things they look for, KYC and AML, know your customer and anti-money laundering. Well, know your customer needs this thing in Latin called a domicilium citandi et executandi. Where are you? What's your address? Now all of a sudden I know where you are because I've geolocated you. Yeah. And by the way, I've got your biometrics, so I know who you are. So even if you're not on the actual health registry or the home affairs system, and you don't have your birth certificate, your ID number, I know who you are, I know where you live, I've got all your information. So we can now do KYC and bring you into the digital economy even though you live in a rural area and you don't have a bank account. We just did a beta, 40,000 people signed up for the app. 40,000. Haven't raised a cent of funding. You see where I'm going with this? So you've got 40,000 people signing up on the app. We've just passed 1,000 transactions done on the platform live. So now we've proven the wallet works. We've proven the KYC works. We've proven the geotagging works. We've proven the tokenization works. Now I can go, hey, I've got a platform that's got 40,000 users in 6 months. I could get it to 40 million users in 5 years. Hey, funder, give me some money. Changes the conversation. Changes the conversation. Something I want to say, it's very important. Most entrepreneurs are not aware of this, but you guys, you need to be aware of this. You do know, let me come at this differently. The universal rule of a business is that every business has a customer. Would you agree? You agree, right? Yeah. By definition. Otherwise, it's not a business. Yeah. Let's agree. Yeah. Right. So funders, venture capitalists, who are their customers? It's not the companies. It's not the companies they're funding. It's not the entrepreneurs they're funding. It's their investors. Yeah. Most entrepreneurs are not aware of this. So I run a $200 million fund. Okay? Who are my customers? It's the people who gave me the 200 million. And don't you think they gave it to me with some sort of mandate and parameters, performance matrix? So when you come and talk to me and say, hey, can I raise some money from you? Maybe you should spend some time getting to know who my investors are and what I committed to them and what my problems are, so that when you pitch your business to me, you're pitching knowing the problem I'm trying to solve. Frankly, and I see a lot of this, I get about 400 emails on a weekly basis, 400 on a week. And 99% of them are entrepreneurs who built a pitch deck and they're just sending to as many funders as possible and hoping someone is going to respond. 80% of the deals I do don't come from the emails. They come from another funder calling me going, hey, I've got a transaction sitting on my table with syndicating. We're raising a Series A round at a $15 million valuation, minimum ticket size $500,000. Do you want to play? Did I speak gibberish or did you guys understand that? You got it? So spend time learning. The investor has a customer. Spend time learning who his customer is. And then talk to him in the language of the problem he's solving. If, we're in technology, fintech, right? So don't bring me a business that, is trying to solve, I don't know, healthcare. Great, but it's not my game. I don't have a mandate for healthcare.
Yeah.
I can refer you to people that do, but I don't have a healthcare mandate. When we raise a healthcare fund, then you can talk to me. If I raise an edutech fund, then you can talk to me. But right now, my focus is driving financial inclusion using technology, fintech. So you only talk to me when you're in that space. Too many of you, frankly, are just spraying and praying, sending out emails, hoping someone comes back, and it doesn't work, guys. You're going to waste your time. It doesn't work.
Maybe.
I'll come to that. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So on that, when you talk about the customers and you look at, you actually currently, are we talking about the My Fund venture? So if you're looking at someone send you the pitch deck, what else apart from the making sure that you really have the clients as number one, as you really mentioned, what are the things that you look for?
Funders look for three. So when I'm raising money, the people who evaluate me look for three things.
Yeah.
When I'm deploying money, the people I evaluate, I look for the same three things. Want to know what the three things are? Okay, so the first thing you look for is the first C. It's called character. Who are you? Who vouches for you? Where do you come from? This is why I see a lot of startup founders are not aware of this, but actually there is a higher probability of either a failed startup founder or a second-time startup founder raising money than a new-time startup founder. Because you're known.
Yeah.
People know who you are.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you would have seen this. Like if you follow Venture Burn or VC for Africa or any of these platforms, the guys you're reading about, you go, wait, I read about this guy raising money 3 years ago. It's because their credibility and character is tested. And so a lot of you are just completely invisible. You're completely invisible. Your credibility and character is not tested. Now, there are old ways of building credibility and character. You went to an Ivy League school, you went to the right university, you met the right people. That's how it was done in the olden day. You know how it's done now? Now it's you take care of your social media, which means stop posting crap on Twitter. Just because it's trending doesn't mean you need to have an opinion about it. Because whether or not you believe it, if I'm going to give you $1 million of my money, or my investors' money, I'm going to go check what you're saying on Twitter. It's basic due diligence. I'm going to go check who you are on LinkedIn. I'm going to go and check your Facebook profile. Like this is the mirror that you're putting to the world, but the positioning is wrong. Yeah. So credibility, character, that if you fail that test, the other tests don't even matter. It's credibility. The second test is competency, capacity, right? So people are going to evaluate whether or not you can do the thing you say you're going to do. This is why, generally, funders look for teams. Because they want to make sure that in the team of founders, somebody has the technical ability, somebody has the financial ability, somebody has the organizational, motivational, team-building ability, somebody has the strategic ability. There is not a single founder who can do all of these. It's not possible. It's just not the way human beings are built. And so another thing an investor is going to look for is to go, okay, so I'm comfortable, but can they execute? Because the most important thing is not ideation, it's execution. It's can you deliver on the thing you're going to deliver on? And these tests, so when you hear people go, we go through a process of due diligence, the due diligence is actually nothing more than what I've just described. Now, it's painful to go through it, but that's all the due diligence is. You say you have an honors degree, can I see the certificate? You say you belong to this club, tell me a bit more about the club, right? So first, character, very important. Second, capacity, very important. And then the third is, what's the story? So you have to learn to become a storyteller, right? Yeah. Nobody funds a business. People fund a story. Nobody funds a business. It's like, I use the old archaic example of like Zuck, right? But why did Zuckerberg, build Facebook as a university-to-university, peer-to-peer social media network, because the story was people go to the same Ivy League universities, but they're not connected. So when you're building your pitch deck, one of the things you want to get straight up front is the story. When I was positioning the app I just funded, I told you the story. You know, I was like, this is the problem. Imagine if we could fix it this way. Right, we've built it, and here's how it fixes it. So I see a lot of this, particularly with you guys in the room who are technical, the coders, the engineers. You want to talk code. Listen, we might talk code in the 4th meeting.
Yeah.
And the truth is, if I want to see your code, I'll just get one of my tech guys to go and look at the code. It's code, it's lines. You know, it's Neo calling into the Matrix. It's red pill, blue pill. It's a line of code. And the truth is, code, as you know, is a living thing. It's going to change every day anyway. All right? So the code is not what you're selling me. It's the story. What's the problem that you're solving? So, yeah.
Cool. Interesting story behind. And most cases we forget that to really narrate the story, why we came up with this business. So thank you so much. Two last questions from me, and then I open up for you guys. I have founders, and actually I've been interacting with many of them, and one of the challenges they have, they send a pitch deck, as you mentioned, and investor come interested in the business, but want to take almost 75% and change even the mission of the business, depending on their interest.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
Yeah, that's fair. If I give you my money, I take what I want. Otherwise, don't take my money. No? Yes. What are you bringing to the table? I can't hear you. Take your mask off.
Yes, you accepted me because I'm fitting into your requirement. Then why are you changing the whole business model?
Because I'm giving you my money.
Actually, the risk that the founder has that at some point is out of the business. Because if you really take
So let me, I'm being facetious when I'm answering the question this way.
Yeah.
Sorry. One of the terms we have in our business when we invest in a business is we look at the cap table. Excuse me. And notoriously in the cap table, if the founders have too little equity, we won't do the deal. Because there's no skin in the game. So what happens, you guys know what a cap table is?
It's out of the business.
No?
Because if you really take
do you know what a cap table is? I'm being facetious when I'm answering the question this way. Oh no. All right. It's important. How much are you paying me to be here? Nothing, right?
Nothing, yes.
All right, so I'm not here for the money. I'm here to share information.
Yes.
So can we do ourselves a favor? Stop pretending to know things we don't. If I say something, you don't understand it.
Yeah.
I'm volunteering my time. I'm spending 2 more days here because I want to share. If I say something you don't understand, just ask. Is that okay?
Sure.
A cap table. When you raise money, what happens is you put together a cap table. And a cap table is the table of the capital that's being allocated and who it's allocated to. So there are 5 of us investing in a deal.
Yeah.
We create a little cap table on Excel. We put the 5 people's names, the amount they're putting in, and how much equity they're taking for that amount. Right? So when a business is raising money, first you do your first raise. So say you do a pre-seed raise. You do a second pre-seed raise. Then you do a seed raise. By the time you're doing a Series A or Series B, your cap table changes because your investors are changing. And if the entrepreneur, typically what happens is if the entrepreneur doesn't have the money to invest himself, he starts with 50%, and every time more money is being invested, he has less and less and less. So you end up in a situation where the business is 5, 7 cycles down a capital raising, in the waterfall, 7 cycles down, and the entrepreneur owns 5% of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so now the question is, who owns the business? If I own 5% of a business as a founder, why wouldn't I just resign, go get a job somewhere, let someone else run the business, and when they turn it into something, I'll take out my 5%? And it's contentious in the investment community, but there is a point beyond which you don't want to dilute the founders. They've got to have skin in the game, right? So they've got to have a percentage of the equity. So the point I'm making is the following. I'm saying a lot, but here's what I'm actually saying. The first thing I'm saying is, The same way an investor qualifies you, qualify your investors. There are some people who would love to give me money. I wouldn't take it. I wouldn't take their money if I was standing next to the devil and they had Jesus and the 6-foot pole could save me. I still wouldn't take their money. And it's not because they're not good characters, it's because we're not aligned on values. I don't want to wake up in the middle of the night worried about this person. Does that make sense? So not all money is the same. So qualify your investors. First thing. The second thing is, if an investor is asking for too much, there are ways to talk around it.
Yeah.
So one of the tricks to try is to talk about a ratchet up or a ratchet down. Here's how that works. So you go, hi, my name is Vusi. I'm raising $100,000 of I'm raising $100,000 from an edutech startup of a $1 million valuation. So I'm giving 10% for $100,000. Does that make sense, everybody? We together?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And then the aggressive capitalist goes, yeah, that sounds good. I'll give you $100,000, but I don't want 10%, I want 60%. Right? Then I go, why do you want 60%? He goes, well, the business is early stage, it's high risk, it's my money. I want to make sure that if you do something and I don't like it, I can change decisions. Typically, that's why investors want the overwhelming majority. It's because they want to be able to make decisions. So here's what I would say to him. I'd go, okay, Mr. Investor, here's what we do. I'll take your 500,000, your 100,000. I'll take it. But I'm not going to take your 100,000 as pure equity. I'll take your 100,000, half as debt, half as equity. And the debt will retire for the first 24 months. So I'm taking 100,000. 50,000 of it is going to be in debt, which means I have to pay it back to you with an interest rate. But we're going to retire it for 24 months, which means for the first 2 years, I don't have to pay a cent back. So I can get this 50,000 to start working in the business, make money, bring the money back into the business for 2 years before I pay you a cent. And once I have to pay you back the money after 24 months, I will pay you back the full 50,000 in 12 months. So you give me 50,000 today, in 36 months, you're going to have your 50,000 plus 10% per annum. That's what I'll pay you back. He goes, okay, 50,000 goes out as debt. You're going to pay me back 65,000 in 3 years. I wouldn't get that if my money was sitting in the bank. I'm happy with that. But there's still the other 50,000 equity, right? Okay, great. So let's talk a bit about this 50,000 equity. I don't agree with your valuation. I don't think I want to give you, my business at that kind of valuation.
Yeah.
But here's what I'm willing to do. I will take your 50,000 as equity. I'll give you 25% of my business. But, check this out. Here's what I'm going to do with the money, and here are the financial matrix I'm going to hit for the next 2 years. If I hit these matrix, you give me back 15% of the 25 I gave you, and you keep the 10. Guys, it's a negotiation.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, he says, no, yeah, he's smiling. I solved your life. Yeah? So there's nothing that's vanilla. It's a negotiation. So he goes, do I like the terms on the debt? Do I like the terms on the equity? Do I like the ratchet up, the ratchet down? Can I trust you? And you don't do this with one investor, you do this with several investors. And every investor you talk to, I shouldn't be telling you guys this, but every investor you talk to, tell them you're talking to other investors too.
You must always have
It's,
like a fair option, like having options.
it's not even about having options, it's about them knowing they're not alone.
Yeah, like they say that you're willing to walk out of the.
I mean, if you were at a nightclub and you walked up to the most beautiful girl at a nightclub and said, hey, what's your name? And she went, and you said, I was just talking to your friend right now. She happy to talk to me. So you're going to give me your name or do I go talk to your friend? See, the ladies are smiling. Changes the conversation now, right? Because now she doesn't see whether or not you're ugly. Now she goes, oh, my friend was talking to you? Maybe I want to give you my number. So it's a natural human instinct. We're competitive. We like being the only ones in the room.
Oh.
So even the investors are the same way. When you tell them you're talking to someone else, they want to know, who are you talking to? What's the conversation? Because if somebody else is listening to you, maybe I should be listening to you too. Yeah? Cool.
Interesting. Thank you so much for that great insight. So guys, I'll open it for you. And if you have a question, please just your name and the company and direct to the question. Please make sure that you use few words, okay? Yes, I have a question here.
Thank you. My name is Nyilinga Godarius. I own a company that produces ice cream called Kigali Friends.
You own a company that produces
Ice cream.
ice cream.
Yeah. My biggest market is Kigali Arena, exclusive I'm the person who sells ice cream there.
Okay, question?
So my question is this, so straight to Vusi.
Yes.
In your way to entrepreneurship, there was a stage where you were about to be bankrupt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you spent some time
twice.
Yeah.
sleeping in your car.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm close to that stage because my business is valuated to 12 million now, but I have a debt of 5 million. And to be honest, with
5
you,
million,
I
what
don't-
currency?
Rwandan francs.
Okay.
I don't have a
Which
way
is
back, and I can't continue operating the way I'm operating now. So I need to raise more money to solve that kind of
Why do you
The
have, why do you,
question?
What did you do?
what did you have, why do you have debt of 5 million?
Well, I started with people's money,
Yeah,
and the business was promising and growing.
yeah.
And as you said, today we need to think big, expand fast. So I did that. So I'm keeping investing, and the return are coming, but not to the ratio that I can pay all those people as fast as I can,
Why do you need to pay them back?
because they are investors. And most, have you ever, any one of you has ever raised money from a person? That person needs his money instantly. Like he's giving you $1 million, and the next month he's expecting 1.2.
Oh, that's not an investor. That's a loan shark.
Right, yes,
Yeah, I mean, but I understand what you're saying, and I hear where you are. It's actually a very good question. So I would say the following. I think, first, congratulations on your journey,
Yeah.
and congratulations on almost failing. You know, I don't like congratulating entrepreneurs when they raise money. I don't think there's something to celebrate when you're raising money. I think there's something to celebrate when you get close to failure, but you keep going.
Yeah.
You know, I think we need to start celebrating the right things. This person you raised from is an individual?
More than one.
More than one? Are they dangerous? They're like in the mafia? So I shouldn't be saying this. Fuck them! No, I'm joking. So I think I would need to understand more at a more detailed level kind of your experiences, but here's where my head goes, and here's what I think you should do. You have one of two options. The first option is to get alternative sources of capital to pay out your old investors, which I don't think you can do. So, you know, go to the bank or to another investor who's more patient and ask them to give you the money, and then pay back this one who's not patient, et cetera, et cetera. Doesn't sound to me like you can do that. But they're charging you interest, is that right? Yeah, so that's not an investor. Anyone who charges you interest is not an investor. That's just a person providing debt. Okay? That's not an investor. The second thing to do is to say to them, I ain't got it. Just to go, look, I know you need your money.
Yeah.
I know I promised I'd have it back,
Yeah.
but I don't have it. Because you didn't steal it. If I know you and the business you're explaining, your money is tied up in inventory. So you went and bought stuff, and you got to sell the stuff to make the money back to pay them, right? But also, it sounds to me like you're scaling up. Now, it's typical of most scale-ups. People are not aware of this, but in the scale-up stage of a business, you're not going to be profitable. If I see a scale-up, personally, if I see a scale-up or I'm invested in a scale-up that's profitable, there's a problem. A scale-up shouldn't be profitable. So the first thing is find alternative sources of money.
Yeah.
If you can't do that, renegotiate the terms. Look, if they're not in the mafia, they can't kill you. Right? So, and I'm being dead serious. It's just renegotiate the terms. The third option is to close the business. I mean, it might not be, eh? Did you say the worst one?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know how you feel.
Not just for me. Let's just say that it's holding 10 to 12 people behind.
No, I got you. I know the social responsibility entrepreneurs carry, but one day when I'm old enough and brave enough, I'll write a book about the power of closing a business. Because we write all the books about starting a business and scale. Do you know how many businesses die every year?
Yeah.
And there is a point beyond which running a business is just irresponsible, because it's like you're keeping the patient in ICU. It's going to die. You just keep, and by the way, I've been there. I've been there where you go, yes, but it employs X number of people and it does this, and everybody knows me. So if it ever came out that my business failed or this business failed, oh man, can you imagine? Close it. There's power in that too.
Yeah.
So I think those are your three options. Alternative source of capital, if you can. If not, renegotiate the terms. If not, close. It's actually, there's no, unless you can invent a new type of product or drug that you will sell that's going to make you this money in 24 hours, and I don't suggest you sell drugs. That was a joke, because I know we're live on YouTube. I don't want to get into trouble. But unless you can do that, dealing with reality sometimes is the most powerful thing you can do. Just deal with the real facts.
Microfund is one of my hobbies. You guys one of your team so that they can look into it.
By the way, you asked me a question. You were like, how did I keep going? Yeah, I'm an intelligent guy. But the problem with being intelligent is if you're intelligent and resilient, the center of being intelligent and resilient is being stupid. Don't know if that makes any sense. You make stupid decisions because you're smart and you don't give up. So it's a bit like if you track back, you guys let's talk about the Americans because they enjoy the hegemon of the world, right? But if you track Elon Musk's journey back 10 years ago, SpaceX was close on bankrupt. Tesla was technically bankrupt, I think it was, or thereabout. So the world's wealthiest man a decade ago was almost out. So why did he keep going? Because he doesn't give up, and he knew something we all didn't. He's intelligent. And the center of it is all of us were saying he is stupid. Like, what are you doing? You built this business, you exited, you made a couple of $1 billion. I don't know about you guys. If I built something, exited, and made $1 billion, I'm not here. Like if I made like $20 billion, I mean, I love you all, but I'm not here. I'm on a boat in Tahiti is where I am. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Sure.
So the question is, what would you create all this wealth and then take it and bet it again? It's like going to the casino, playing, winning the jackpot, and then you don't leave. You play again. And you lose as you play, and you almost lose all your money, but you still keep playing. That, for me, this doesn't look intelligent.
Yeah.
Which means you would only do it if you knew something someone else doesn't. So that, for me, has been my secret, man. That's the reason I don't give up typically is because I can see something or I know something that I can see people around me can't see. And also, I'm allergic to giving up. It's a terrible disease.
Yeah.
Before you ask your next question, let me just say this to you. Okay. Be very careful of developing the ability not to give up. And the reason you have to be careful is because then you have to be careful what you start. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a bit like, I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and we were talking about something, and I was like, no. The basic premise is this. When you're in a bad relationship, but you don't want to leave the bad relationship because the relationship can't fail? It's the same idea. Sometimes it must just fail.
Yeah.
Because your partner is the one after this one. So the point is, it's your own journey, brother. And I wish you well, and I hope it works out for you. Trust yourself. You'll make the right decision. Trust me. You'll make the right decision. But if you don't have a patient investor, you need to sit down with them and have a very difficult conversation, or you need to try and find another source of capital. Okay.
Interesting. And you said you have actually you have equipment and all that. So that actually can help to get some money from the funds that we really have around. I don't know whether you've tried that, but it's another conversation we can have probably. Let's have another person, let's speak. Then we go. You have a question? Yes, it's okay, fine.
Thank you. I'm Pacific. So I run an angel investment company called Guardian Angels. But our motto is we want to have a private listing for small and medium businesses where someone could, it's more of a private listing. That's all. So my question is, you talked about resilience, and then I want to, how do you now determine from an investor perspective, skin in the game for entrepreneurs?
In other words, if an entrepreneur is resilient enough?
Yes.
The skin in the game. Like, how do you, what are the factors that you look at to see that somebody has a skin in the game?
Oh, yeah. That's a good question. For me, I think, to evaluate skin in the game, really what you're asking yourself is what is the cost of failure for this entrepreneur? What's the cost of failure, right? And there are different ways to evaluate skin in the game. So because of COVID, I'll tell you guys a true story. I can tell you now, I couldn't at the time, because, we control capital, right? So you got to be careful with these things. But because of COVID, at my growth fund, one of our funds went under deep strain because it had underlying portfolio companies that weren't performing. And the fund was fully deployed. And these underlying companies that were hit hard by COVID needed additional liquidity, and we couldn't provide it. So now you've got two options to evaluate skin in the game. Capital you've allocated into these businesses. Because of COVID, I'll tell you guys, and these businesses they're at a risk of dying unless they get fresh money in. Right? So you got to be careful. But you can't put the fresh money in. At my growth fund, so what do you do? Well, the first thing you do is you think about, can I get somebody else to put fresh money in, right? But that changes the cap table. Remember the cap table? We owned a certain amount. Now it's a certain amount. It changes the parameters. It changes what are the IRRs for this business. It changes a whole host of financial matrix. Yeah. It changes what is our return on capital. It just changes stuff, right? So the reason we were able to do what we were able to do was because in each of those businesses, the underlying cap table founders, we owned a certain amount, and management teams had skin in the game. Changes the parameters. It changes. And what that meant was, it was more expensive and more painful for them. It changes for the business to fail than it was for us. Right? That's when you know you've got skin in the game. And how was that the case? The reason in two of those businesses, we were able to do what we were able to do. When we were investing in the businesses, was because we said we're going to put an X amount of capital in. The founders said, I want to put an X amount of capital in, but they didn't have the capital as liquid cash. So two of the founders took a particular type of asset, raised money against the asset to invest in the business. So if the business fails, they can't pay back the money, they're going to lose this asset. That's skin in the game, right? So for me, that's how I evaluate skin in the game. Now, there are some businesses and founders who just don't have cash, right? So for me, if you don't have cash, then I'm looking at different things as skin in the game. Like, what is your salary? That's skin in the game. Probably the one people talk about the least, right? If I'm a trained engineer in computer sciences, I could work at Amazon Web Services and earn X amount, or I worked at Google and earned X amount. I left Safaricom earning this amount to start my business. The difference between what I earned and what I'm earning now, that's my skin in the game. Does that make sense? Yeah. So for us, that's how we evaluate. Skin in the game is nothing more than what are you sacrificing, you got to fry the pig in its own fat. It's like, what are you sacrificing to be here?
A little bit at the end of the next strategy, because you mentioned on the, obviously, on the personal level to the business, we try to analyze. We realize that entrepreneurs would be far better when they dedicate their time in careers working for corporates, and it makes more sense compared to when they're doing businesses. So when is the right time for an entrepreneur to exit? Like, what should be an exit strategy?
Yeah, that's a good question. I have no clue. I really don't know. I think it depends. There are some entrepreneurs who don't stay long enough. There are others who stay too long. Yeah. Like here's a philosophical question. Did Jack Dorsey stay too long or not long enough at Twitter? And people forget, he was founder, then co-CEO, then CEO, then chairman, then left, then came back to rebuild it. So did he stay too long or not long enough? We just don't know. I think, for me, the exit question is a personal one. I've exited most of the things I'm doing. That's how I'm able to be here on a Thursday at this time, is because I've literally exited a lot of the stuff and have given it to the management teams who run it, right? But I've exited now, one, because just the strain of running it, particularly over COVID, I'm exhausted. And two, because we're over a decade in, and I've taken it where I wanted to take it in a decade, and I'd love to see where the next crop of guys can. I'm still group CEO, I chair the board, blah, 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 right? But I'm not there making day-to-day decisions, so I've actually exited, right? I think it's a personal decision. Yeah. And there are some businesses, that might be the case for a lot of the guys in this room, there are some businesses that you can't exit. If if you build a retail business, how do you exit a retail business? If you're not there to sell the goods, people are going to steal your stock, right? So how do you exit a retail business? There are some businesses that are difficult to exit. Why are you smiling? Have you got a retail business? Yeah? No, it's true. I mean, if you open up a fashion retail business or food retail business, or you start a Java coffee, how do you exit a Java coffee?
Close it, basically.
I mean, yeah, you got one or two options really, which is what the Java guys have actually done.
Yeah.
The one is to close it. There are three options. The first is to close it when you die. Basically, it'll close itself. The second is that when you die, you leave it to your children. Or the third, which is what the guys at Java have done, is to build so many of them that once you build all of them, you create all of this value and you sell it to a mega fund that wants the value.
Oh, yeah.
That's the way to exit. So, but exit is a tough one.
Interesting. Can we hear from
Yeah,
the
you got
lady?
one or two options really,
Yes.
which is what the Java
Questions?
guys have actually done. The one is to close it. There are three options. The first is to close it when you die. Basically, it'll close it. Marketing. Tell me about your marketing firm.
So it's a basic marketing firm, and we're slowly going into the MarTech industry. Whereas
Into?
MarTech B2B, whereas we're now looking at getting a bunch of data and trying to help the products out there with actual data or consumer data. So that's what we're looking at.
Please say what you just said in English.
All right, so
What do you actually do? What's the problem that you're solving?
So the problem that we're solving is that there's not enough information for different firms to be able to now, say if they want to get into the market, there's not a lot of information for firms to be able to know that they have to actually get into this market or they're going to succeed in this market or all these other different things. So we're trying to solve that issue of lack of information and also just trying to help businesses to actually get this information.
Right. I need to understand this. So are we talking about market research?
Yes.
That's what we're talking about here,
Yeah.
right? How do you do the research?
So currently what we do is we work with different clients and we sort of do their research on their own customers. So that's sort of how we're doing the research.
So you do focus groups, surveys. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
So why do you need to raise money?
No, because we're looking at different products. So we're looking at on market products, which is what I just mentioned. And then we're also looking
On-market product.
Yes.
What is on-market product?
So on market products are more like we're looking at it being a platform that's going to at least have all this different information about now the marketing one. Say if you want to know about the retail industry,
Okay, I understand now.
what do I need to look at?
Okay. So let me see if I can simplify what you just said in English. So you run a marketing company that focuses on market research. I imagine predominantly, but not exclusively, for retail brands focused on consumers. Because they're the ones that really need the market data. And the market opportunity is because there isn't a transparent, easily accessible place of accessing marketing data, you do the marketing research. But to date, you've been doing the marketing research on a one-by-one client basis and selling them the paper of research. What you're now thinking of doing is to build an online technology platform where you would do the research, have the research sitting behind some sort of protocol where if I wanted to access it, I would buy a license, get into your platform, access the data, and access the market. Why didn't you just say that?
It's a better way that you say it. I should remember that.
It's my gift, by the way. See, it happened again. See? It happened this morning, right? So then you've got two different businesses, right? You've got the traditional business and you've got this potential technology startup. What I would do if I was you is I would register a technology startup, right? And raise funding for a technology startup and build a technology startup and use the traditional business as the service provider to get the data for the technology startup. So there's a traditional business. I've got 1,000 researchers going around Kigali collecting data on how many guys wear white sneakers. And they come in and they plug this data in. They go, the guys that wear white sneakers are all between the ages of 18 and 35. They have this kind of disposable income. They They populate all this data. You then take the data and you say, I, as the technology company, I'm going to buy this data from my services company at a particular fee. You buy the data and bring it into a technology company. And then you use this and say to people, if you want to access it here, but you pay me a fixed license every month. That way, if the technology business doesn't work, doesn't threaten your traditional business, you can keep going. But if it does work, then you still get the potential upside and scale. Okay, so if you are, I have a friend of mine, this is a true story, I've got a friend of mine who's got 42 companies. 42. You know how you end up with 42 companies? It's called risk management. If I have a business that sells fire hoses, and someone says, fire hoses, for you to hose down fire, you need water. You should get into the water business. I'm creating a different business for water. I'm not bringing it in my fire hose business. Because if the water business doesn't work, I don't need those creditors coming after my fire hose business. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Separate. That's what I would do.
Did the last question from you?
Yeah, yeah.
But in this case, what we do is more of we work with different clients,
Yeah, yeah.
businesses,
Yeah, yeah.
and we sort of do their market.
Yeah, yeah.
Learn from their market, and that's sort of how we do it. So just to clarify, that was just a clarification.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
So what I mean is that yes, we do what you were saying, but through actual through having these different clients. But my actual question was, how do you know that you're ready to be invested?
How do you know that you're ready to be invested in? Yeah, if you're asking that question, you're not ready to be invested in. No, really, it's like asking, how do you know you're ready to be married? You're asking that question, don't get married. I mean, having an investor in your business changes your business.
Yeah.
Investors ask questions. You'll tell her, right? They ask questions. They are sometimes impossible. They don't understand the operating environment. They don't understand the risks. They don't care. They just want their money, right? So I would say, if you're asking the question, how do I know if I'm ready to be invested in? You're probably not ready to be invested in. When you're ready to be invested in, you go and raise money. You're very clear about it, right? And then you trust yourself in the process. Trust yourself. You'll know, if you follow your gut, you'll know what to do.
Okay, cool. Let's have the last guy. It's you, yes.
Hi everyone. My name is Hamza Katende. I'm the founder of Social Impact application, enabling Africans in African diaspora that is in Africa.
Okay.
My question is in line to a response you gave.
Yeah.
So if you need to raise money first for you to start a company.
Yeah.
I'm not in total agreement with the response you gave.
Yeah.
But, you need a customer.
Yes.
But I think the dynamics for the African startup ecosystem changes compared to maybe Europe or America.
Yeah.
I feel like we are required to have a lot more for you to actually raise money.
Yes.
Unlike.
No, that's not a feeling. That's a fact. That's a fact.
It is a fact. But
Yeah.
I wonder why companies like Quibi are able to raise money even from my idea stage and then fail 6 months later.
Yes.
Why are we required to have way more than
You're kidding, right?
Our counterpart? No, I'm not kidding.
No, you're actually kidding.
I would think that maybe many of the investors are not African and maybe they don't understand the African startup ecosystem. But then if we have VC firms in Africa who are also being brutal to African startups, you're required to have an MVP, you're required to have a lot of traction. Why can't this support come from idea stage? If I mean you believe that this startup is investable, why do the rules change for African startups?
And maybe I can add something on his question. It's the narrative actually is going on that you must have a white person in the team in order to get funds. I'm sure you've heard that around.
Or an MBA from Harvard.
Exactly. So
All of those are, you know, what do they say about perceptions? Perceptions and generalizations are what they are because generally they're true. People didn't imagine this narrative that you must have a white, you know, co-founder.
yeah.
I mean, I don't want to cast aspersions, but if you go on any of the websites and blogs that publish all the latest companies that get funded,
Yeah.
and just go and check the founder list, and you'll find that narrative is true.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that your perception of it is not incorrect. You're not misreading the situation. You're reading it perfectly correctly. But you're asking a question that's going to get me in trouble. It's aspersions. But if you go on any of the websites and blogs that publish all the latest companies that get funded,
Yeah.
and just go and check the founder list, and you'll find I want to say this correctly so that I'm not misunderstood. What I'm saying is that your perception of it is not generally incorrect. You're not misreading the situation. You're reading in country perfectly correct. Who make money in country don't reinvest in startups in country. But you're asking a question that's going to get me in trouble. Now, if we're not reinvesting in ourselves, we kind of don't have the right to tell people who are investing in us what the terms should be. You know what changed in Nigeria and why you're seeing all of these incredible startups in Nigeria raising massive valuations? It's because the Nigerians built an ecosystem where Nigerians are investing in Nigeria, in country. So they get to determine the value of the transaction. When they're talking about a particular state, a particular area, a particular tribe, a particular rural area, they know what they're talking about. They're not able to educate an investor who flew in on a flight from some city in East, in the eastern part of North America to come and give them their money because Nigerians built an this incredible annoys Nigeria, frankly. But so they get to determine how many of the guys I know when they're talking about a particular who are on the front page of Forbes, who are featured on CNBC, who are running. How many of them do you know have a small little startup venture fund in country, whatever the country is? Where they're investing in the next generation, in the eastern part of North America, to come and give them. The truth is, let's be honest here, this incredible for a lot of annoying Nigeria, frankly. But so they get to determine how many of the guys I know, when they're talking about a particular who are on the front page of Forbes, who are featured on CNBC, who are running. How many of them do you know? So guys will have a small little startup venture fund in country, whatever the country is. That doesn't work. Where they're investing in the next generation. They're not doing that. Then they might put some money on the stock exchange. But the truth is, let's be honest here. This is they're not for a lot of. They take their money offshore and they buy the property offshore. Definitely not giving it to the kid down the road. This crazy idea for a crypto startup. They're not doing that. And so when the capital arrives from the rest of the world, it gets to determine the terms. It says, did you go to a university in my country? Do you have an MBA from this university? Oh, you don't? You went to a local university? I don't want to talk to you. I don't know you. So again, that's what I'm saying. You're going to get me in trouble. 90% of Africa's problems can actually be solved by Africans themselves. Frankly, 90% of our problems we could actually just solve ourselves. Just us, we could actually solve it, right? So your question though was, so why is it that in Europe guys have, I've seen guys raised with a 3-page white paper. 3-page white paper and they get $1 million committed in a dinner meeting, right? The reason is because it's their money, it's their rules. You can do whatever they want. No one is stopping whoever it is that are the top 10 richest guys in Rwanda tomorrow morning waking up and going, we're going to create a venture fund. We're going to look for the next Facebook in Rwanda. We'll invest in it. And our terms are that we want to see a 3-page business plan, a 5-page white paper, and we've got these 25 questions we want you to answer and 2 interviews. If you pass the test, we'll give you a $100,000 check. No one's, who's stopping them? That's your answer, man. Like, I am done. I am done with Africans blaming the rest. I am done with that shit. I'm done with it. I'm done. South Africa finds out that we've got a new variant. With respect, I love your country, and you guys had the audacity to shut us out. Who's Rwanda? Rwanda is shutting out South Africa. Where's America here? Where's Britain here? You made that decision. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So who are going to blame? Who? And this is like a simple, small, pathetic example, really. But I can tell you right now, if that let me just. You know what I was going to say next. You know what I was going to. That if that variant came from, we wouldn't be. You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
This variant has now been found in New Zealand. It's now been found in Europe. I didn't see any circulars coming out of Rwanda saying, "Yo, from New Zealand, don't come here." I didn't see that. Why? Until Africans realize that Africans themselves can solve Africa's problems.
Yeah.
We're constantly going to be sitting at the begging bowl and praying to the world to save us. And if you're begging, you're not adding value. So you go to the event, you're at the investment summit, and the table for Africans is at the back there. That's where they put us. You know.
I think
There was the funny story about the minister or some president who took, you know, like family members on a plane to go on an investment trip. It was a trip to Paris. Yes, it was a trip to Paris or wherever it was. The family members got to do shopping, is what it was. I'm going to tell you for free, man. You know, I really think. Here's what I think. Hands up in this room if you're in your 20s. Hands up if you're in your 20s. Hands up if you're in your 30s. Hands up if you're in your 40s. Really? You serious? She looks 22.
Yeah, sure.
Right. So check this out, guys.
Yeah.
Check this out, right?
Yeah.
All of us in this room don't have to wait for these old people to fix these problems.
True.
I don't know what we're waiting for. Because these old people fix old problems, fix new problems the old way. And the old way is a centralization of power, and it's begging to centralize power. We need to fix this, we go talk to government, centralize power. We need to fix this, we go talk to that, centralize. You and I today live in a decentralized world. There are some of you today on Telegram groups with people in parts of the world you've never been to. But you're sharing information, you're buying coins, you're doing trades, do you understand? The internet collapsed borders. The world was round, the internet made it flat. Which means, as a generation, as young people, why are we listening to these old people and their old rules? And it's because we're playing a new game the old way, we end up with the same problems. It's not, I go and raise a fund today. I'm going to raise a fund and somebody goes, what's your mandate? I go Pan-African. They go, you can't do Pan-African. Why not? It's 54 different countries. I go, actually, you're wrong. It's 55. They split the Sudan. So it's not 54, it's 55, number one. Number two, why can't I do it in 55 countries? Who said? When Sequoia Capital raises money, people don't go, yeah, but there's 50 federal states in America, in the United States of America. Why can't I do it? Do you see what I'm trying to say? So it's like, don't even get me started on these old people. Frankly, I don't have the time. I don't have the time or the patience. They did it the way they did it. It's cool, it's great, fantastic. You brought us freedom. You chased away the colonizers. Now we're free. We're educated. We're building startups. We're writing codes. Now leave us. Please leave us. Let us do this thing that we're doing. Because,
Thank you so much. I think adding on that, just a small sentence, is even us here, if we come together, we can invest in X company. But the problem is we are still buying plots of land, and we believe in a company. The guy is just looking for you've heard him. He said he have 5 million that he's just looking for. Here in this room, I'm sure, we can't get money for him, and he runs a business. But why can't we do it? The question goes back to you. Yes, Annette. Let's hear from a lady. We have had, and then I come back to you, right? Okay. Yes, go ahead. Please.
I know. We have to go, yeah.
My name is Annette. I founded it's a social enterprise, and my
Oh man, I've heard this question so many times.
the world,
Yeah.
and particularly as an artist, to say someone walked into my business
Yeah.
some months ago and says, I'll give you the $50,000 you need to produce your 10 projects and this kind of impact will be achieved,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I need you to separate yourself from yourself. You need to stop the entrepreneurship side and focus on the artistic side. You can't do the two. So I'm just wondering, for anyone coming from any sector, as a professional,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
medical sector,
Yeah.
as a professional wanting to start a hospital healthcare business, where do the two merge? What are the typical trappings
Yeah.
so that we can achieve both?
Easy question to answer. It's the biggest trap most people get into, right? Which
Yeah.
is because you are technically trained at something, you build a business around it. Running a business and building a business and being an expert in something are very different. This is why there are some university professors who will never become vice chancellors of universities. There are some engineers who will never become CEOs of technology companies. There are some mechanics who will never become CEOs of automotive companies, because knowing how to fix an engine and building an automotive company are wildly different skill sets. That person might not be wrong, and maybe it's something for you to reflect on. Maybe they know something you need to know. Yes.
You talked about character, some of the criteria and just as it's competency. Now, in building a team, as you bootstrap, as you're scaling your business, I hear what you're saying. It's critical that you find these other components of people who have all these other expertise. The person who will do the finances, the admin, the technical. I could come in as a technical, but how do you then build this team? As someone who starts from this point of, I came in as an expert, it's a business, I believe that will succeed, but I'm building this team. I'm bootstrapping it, I'm financing. How do you put it all together so that...
What's the actual question you're asking me in one sentence? One sentence.
One sentence. How do you build a team
How do you build a team?
as you bootstrap?
Yeah, with great difficulty. Team building is probably the hardest. I did a tweet the other day, went viral. I said, you don't build a business. So you don't build a business, you build people. People create a culture. The culture builds the business. So the way to actually build a business is to build people. That's the way to do it, right? And so what I would say to you is, are you surrounded by the right people? Are you developing them? Are you talking to them? You've got to speak life into your people. I do this all the time. I'll hire somebody and I can see that they're good, but they doubt themselves, and I'll speak life into them. Tell them, you're amazing, you're great. You're in the top 10% of the world at doing this. That's why I gave you this job. Do the job. And sometimes building a team means you've also got to be, Jose Mourinho, which means if the person doesn't perform, you need to be an asshole. There are people who work for me that will tell you, Vusi is an asshole. I will tell you now, fuck off. What are you doing? Are you wasting my time on purpose? Do the job or take your shit and fuck off. And when you push people and you press them and you put them against a corner, their character comes out. So I'm going to speak life to you, speak life into you, speak life into you. Then I'm going to hit you hard. Because you don't grow by hearing you're amazing all the time. Sometimes you grow by being hit. So building people is the most important part of, it's not the technology, guys, I promise you. Build people. You find the right people, get the right characters, and you build them. You talk life into them, then you challenge them. Talk life into them and challenge them. I've got a fairly strong language. I think you picked that up, right? So there are some people who can't work for me. There's some people I go, fuck off. They go, oh my God. Oh. And they go home crying. It's not personal. It's not personal. I told you what I told you. It's over. Do the job or don't come back. Because, as I say this to all my team members, there is a mission we are on. My God put me here. This is what I believe. My God put me here on this earth for this mission. And when I go meet my God one day, he's going to ask me, did you fulfill the mission? And my answer cannot be, I didn't get there because you didn't do your job. So do your job. If we all do our jobs, life is so nice, so simple. Just do your job. Just do your part. You know what it is. You sign the contract. Every end of the month, you take the salary. You know what your job is. Do it. Okay? Build it.
Cool.
Build people. If you build people, the business will build. Okay?
I'll have one last question, and it should be one sentence, right? Don't pass, one sentence. That's you.
I won't even introduce myself.
Yes, it's okay.
I want to ask Vusi because I follow him for a long time.
Yes.
I've seen recently your partnership with Creative Zone.
Yeah.
I want to ask you one thing. You follow there in the Dubai AE. Kindly would you share with us what should we remain with so that we apply it to Africa without coming there with all the main things? Thank you.
Yeah, simple. I think we were actually talking about this in the car. So, I want to tell you guys a little secret, man.
Yeah.
This is the secret. Everybody believes in Africa. Let me finish. You might not clap after.
But, wait, but.
Everybody believes in Africa.
Yeah,
Everybody.
yeah.
But Africans themselves.
Say it again, sir.
Tell me I'm lying.
No, come again.
Everybody believes in Africa except Africans. Everybody. You go to the Middle East, you go, what's your growth strategy? They go, Africa. You go to North America, you say to the United States or Canada, what's your growth strategy? They go, Africa. You go to Europe, Eastern Europe, Central Europe, Western Europe. You ask the United Kingdom, you ask the Brits, you ask the Italians, you ask the Spanish, you ask the Russians, you ask the Ukrainians, what's your growth strategy? They go, Africa.
Even Lorenzo Joris?
Everybody, why do you think he and I had the partnership? Because his biggest growth sector is entrepreneurs who want to build global businesses coming out of Africa, setting up in Dubai. Everybody can see Africa except us. We are the only ones that don't believe in ourselves. The only ones. The
Interesting.
only ones. So, you want to change the game? Yeah, if you want to change the game, you have to change how Africans believe. I'm not here for any reason other than I want you to hear me.
Yeah.
I genuinely, truly, honestly believe in each and every single person in this room. Every single one of you. Every single person in this room. I genuinely, honestly believe in every single person here. I think if you want to build the next Tesla, you can do it. I really do. I think you want to build the next 500 startups or Y Combinator, you can do it. You want to build the next JP Morgan Chase, you can do it. I genuinely believe, like when I walk around and I see young Africans, I'm like, yo, damn, I wish you would see you the way I see you. I look and I genuinely, like I met a guy yesterday who's built a genome sequencing business. He's here in Rwanda. It might have been where is he? He's not here, he left. But that's like I'm backing guys who are doing stuff in crypto all over Africa. Some are building DAOs, others decentralized exchanges, some are in DeFi, guys are doing stuff. I genuinely, honestly believe. And I believe because I can see the rest of the world believes. Everybody got the email. There was an email that was sent out that said Africa is amazing and here's why. Everyone got that email except Africans. We didn't get the email. So, yeah. That's it.
Thank you guys for coming.
Can we get the companies all by myself? We're interested in the social development. If you can franchise it, I'm going to take it.
All right, we'll chat. Can you connect us?
Yes, sure.
I've got a session at Carnegie Mellon, so I've got to run, but thank you.
Thank you guys
Right
for
now.
coming. Sorry guys, he has to go as you've heard. So I know this will happen because he has a really limited time as you mentioned. But really join me to thank him for this time and coming and share his experience to you guys. And of course, honoring our invitation to be here and share with you guys. I think you've really benefited more. But you can keep the conversation going on all our social media. And you can, you can really reach out directly to him.
What? No, but Africans? No. I don't know. No. No, it's different. When you talk to Africans like this in the room, they hear you, they listen. You put it out on social media, and people misinterpret it. People, I don't know why. I don't know why. And maybe the problem is that those of you that believe are too quiet.
Yeah.
I actually think this is the problem with the world is the good people are quiet.
Yeah.
And so the 5% that have nothing else to do except destroy are the loudest ones. Right? So, I'm not saying our continent is perfect. I'm not saying we don't have challenge. I'm not saying any of that stuff. I'm just saying, I believe. You know, I believe.
I just want to ask you this, right? Until now, fintechs more.
Yeah.
What do you think comes first, regulations or product?
No, never regulation. Regulation can't come first. Regulation regulates what it knows.
By the way,
Actually, that's the problem we're facing now. Because you build a product, now they want to fill you with regulations.
Yeah. So build another one, and another one, and just keep building features that go around the regulation.
do you see yourself investing in content, in digital content production, since like Netflix is having a branch of Africa, and there's a lot of content that is being created? Do you see yourself branching also in digital content, like movies, things like that? Like
I don't know. I would need to understand the business case. I would need to understand the technology. I would need to understand the team.
Because there are a lot of platforms that
We'll
are
reach out to you.
broadcasting and streaming content.
Yeah, I know.
I'm based in Rwanda.
It's
So
like people don't know
whatever
Africa, like what you were
I know.
The
I
amazing
still have,
part of Africa, like
I
we-
can,
it's
like,
a little bit
back
hidden,
any
like the
questions,
culture, the people,
and
the drive,
Yeah.
what is like the identity
Okay.
of Africa.
I'm going to stop this.
To go broadcast it, like
I agree.
yeah,
So build it.
great.
Vusi, these guys have a question. It's a common question. How can they reach out to you?
Sorry, what?
How can they reach out to you?
How can they reach out?
To you.
For what?
For what, guys?
No. Let me think about. I want to answer this question so that I actually answer this question.
Yes.
I give them a hint of how we can reach out to them by offering a solution to make the problem.
Okay, if one has a solution that is worth investing or that is worth looking into, how do we channel that solution into right through you?
Yeah, I mean, so you guys all on social media?
Yeah.
Who's not on social media? Which ones are you on?
Okay, Instagram, Twitter. I
Okay.
see you active on Facebook also.
Yeah, so here's what I'll do. I'll build a type form. You guys know type form? I build a type form. I'm going to put out a tweet, and all the tweet is going to say is hashtag 250startups, and then I'll give the link to the type form. Click on the link, send me all your details, then it'll sit on my side, and then I can contact you. If you call, text, email, you won't be able to reach me otherwise. Okay? Is that good? Is that fair?
Yeah.
Great. Really have to run. Thanks, everybody.
Cool. Thank you so much, guys, for coming.
Nice, brother.